What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to talk about emotions and maintaining your bias when trading a stock. Um, Not just maintaining your bias, but having conviction on your plan, on your idea, and how to make money from it. It's interesting because over the last few weeks, I've noticed that um, I can call this stock is going to go to 310s, to three is going to gap down tomorrow to twos. This stock, LIZI, we traded today. And it was at 450 or something like that, and I said, you know what, it's going to go mid low threes and probably gap down twos tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to gap down twos tomorrow, but I do know that this stock was 310s and it was 450, and is there any reason that I shouldn't have made at least a decent sum of money? And the truth is, I actually made no money short on this name, even though I knew exactly what it was going to do. And, I consider myself a good trader. I knew where it was going to go. And yet my emotions and my overthinking created a lot of issues. So I just want to talk about how this stock traded, why it traded the way that it did, and what my thoughts were during the trade. And I'm sure you guys have all had similar thoughts like these, but just some things there. So, just to start off, the company had some news, had a PR, and was essentially talking about they being selected among the top 10 for, you know what, it didn't even really matter. I don't even remember what the PR said, to be honest with you. I just know it was worthless. There was no numbers, there was no guidance, there was no nothing. They had just being selected for an honor. It was a Chinese company. It was a pump and dump, and plain and simple. You can look at the chart. IPO this year, down from 14 to 2. It's not doing well. There's lots of IPO holders that are going to want to sell. Anybody else who's holding along here definitely wants to get out. I know I would if it popped up over 4 here. So obviously, when you look at the chart, there is a clear area here around 4, 4 plus. Above 4, so this area here. You're going to have some resistance over there. And we had some wild volume. Like this stock has never had volume traded before. And as you can see today, it was 100 billion shares. And one of the things that I was thinking as this thing was going up was, over 4, was that it was honestly just insane volume. Like I was overthinking it. I was like, wow, like imagine all the shorts that they're trapping in here. Like this is just crazy. Maybe this will squeeze up to 6, right? Maybe it'll gap fill 6 instead of just focusing on the price action and what it was telling me. So I didn't actually enter any trades at all. I did see it was probably a long here, but considering the news, the bias, and how I understood it, I was not going to go long here at all. So I let it do its thing. I let it break highs. I let it rip up, and saw that this was a good kind of parabolic move versus VWAP, and came down, and then had a little stuff here at 450, which is kind of a mental target, and kind of like the way that it was trending, lower highs, and just kind of felt that this was the top end combined with that stuff. So put on a short and wrote it down into these candles are a little bit buggy with DAF sometimes around 8 a.m. But covered down into support. And it was interesting because, as the stock traded, somebody was obviously holding it up. So I watched as it came back up, and I watched as it rejected VWAP and came back down, and it was held, and it paired back up, came back up to VWAP again, and I was expecting it to either reject or to come through VWAP, and instead it rejected, but it didn't reject, it just held. And then it perked again towards VWAP and came back, and again didn't reject or go, it just held. At which point I went long. Obviously, it just was not normal. You've rejected VWAP 3 times, and you've held exactly the same line. The wicks are bought up. It's a little bit too obvious, and so perked up through here. One of the things, though, that I will note is that I didn't really make a lot of money in this trade because I did go long. I think maybe it was in this one where I did double and hold, so I maybe went long here. And then, when it didn't go here, I sold right in the bottom of this wick and lost a small trade on that. And then I did like rebuy as it perked back up. But, I kind of kicked myself for emotionally selling here because, as you can see, it did not break support. I just thought that, well, third reject, right? Like, that's crazy. So, which is fair, like, that didn't go, but I should have respected my stop, which, maybe if it pushed through 380s or 380 and broke that level, then maybe I could have sold. So maybe wasn't very well justified. So you can see my emotions already there in the trade. But made it back green, small, sold, and then continued to watch for the short because I knew it was a short opportunity. Saw the little stuff here, came down, tried to perk and break out, and then failed again, at which point I shorted and confirmed by doing a little VWAP fail, and came down from there. So, this was into open. I figured it was pretty weak, already done the VWAP squeeze, and then it would flush into open. That's exactly what it did, flush into open. And then, it's one of those things where you just get, FOMO, and you're afraid of missing out. You're short, afraid, cover, short, cover. And you just get a little bit too, you don't want to miss the move because it's going to 310s, right? And it's at 410. It's $1. That's a lot of money, right? That's a potential big trade, and so you don't want to miss out on the move. So because I knew it was going to flush, I wasn't sure if it was even going to retest VWAP, but my idea was, this range here. So, shorted. But it was more of a chase. Like I think I literally shorted like 385 or something like that. So it came up here and I was freaking out, and I ended up emotionally covering a little bit, re-shorted into the pops, kind of where I was hoping for. But it was interesting. I think I actually got stopped out right this second push. Was kind of surprising to me. I was pretty sure this would fail here. So just an unusual stock. It's just chopping around, and the reality is that I didn't give myself a reasonable stop on this trade. Where am I wrong that this is a short, right? So if you're watching this right now, if you're trying to figure out, if you're shorting this, where does the stock go that I'm wrong? And the truth is that this peak here, I mean, in all honesty, this peak here, so pre-market highs is the one, but this is a very classic, what we call like a rug pull action, where there's three peaks. There's the tall one, there's the lower one, and then there's one that breaks this to cause fear, and that's exactly what they did. They punched it just over, exited their position into the short covering and FOMO chasers, and then just left. They just walked. So, this was, from that perspective, a very, if you were ready for this, and kept your bias and knew that this was your risk where you were wrong, in all honesty, you could have let this go to 5 if it just popped over to see what it did. Even over, because sometimes it will pop over high of day, depending on what your risk tolerance and risk range is. But to have a stop, saying I'm going to stop out at, where is this? I'm going to stop out at 436, and just throw out a number there. That's what I did. So I'm going to stop out at like 436. It breaks this peak. And so, I stopped out there, but, and who knows, it could have kept going. But the point is that, you can comfortably, on smaller size, short peaks, strength, confidently, whatever your size is for your account, risking this level and just short strength and cover washes, and it's, it's much less stressful than shorting here, at 432, risking 436. On size, and it made me working out and stop out all the time. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. So just making sure you give yourself enough room to work is super important. And so, for example, just to throw out some numbers out there real quick, if you have a $2,000 account, if you put on, you know, 200 shares, let's say it popped up here the first time you put on 200 shares at 430, um, came down, came back up, uh, put on another 200 shares at 440, you got 400 shares at 435, and your risk is 50 cents. So you're risking 400 shares, 50 cents, $200. Maybe that's a little large for a 2K account. Just a 5K account. Even then, it's somewhat large, but um, what your risk is. But the idea is that are you right or not? Like this is your plan. Your plan is for it to go to 310, right? And you're short 400 shares at 435. You're gonna make $500 if you're right, and $200 is wrong. So 2.5, 3 times risk reward. I mean, of course, you can always add to winners too, but it's very unlikely. You got to use statistics as well. It's very statistically unlikely that it would go right up to there. You're not expecting it to go up there, so you're just putting that on because you want to have decent size down below. But sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes it's going to go up there and you're going to lose $200, and that blows. But if statistically 1 in 4 times it goes up to there and you lose your $200, and the other 3 times, right, it goes down to 310, statistically, if you know what you're doing, if you've understood the news and understand the price action, then you're going to make 3 times $500, $1,500, and you're going to be wrong one time and lose $200. So you do the math on that. Even if you were right 50% of the time, you're still walking away with double the money, with $600 from losing 400. So it's important to understand if you're wrong sometimes, important to understand statistics, and important to understand and have conviction in your plan and price actions. So that's all I really want to talk about. LIZI obviously had the huge rip from hell. They held for. There was no reason to short this until it had failed the key area, and it did not. That was the rip, and that was the area I talked about squeeze, and then they simply walked, and it just faded all day. There was nothing confusing about once they walked. That's all there was. So, but yeah, I want to talk a little bit about how you can understand and have the best plan and best convictions, but with your emotions, with overthinking, with not having a good stop out area. You got to give yourself room to work. If you don't give yourself room to work, then you're not going to be able to get to where you want to go, because the truth is you're not going to nail. You might, but you're probably, I don't know, you probably didn't short 473 today and that was your only entry. If you did, then good for you. But yeah, you gotta have know where you're wrong, whether that's 5 for you or whether that's peak for you, or whether this is over under that peak. You got to know what your plan is and where you're wrong, and then just are you short, are you long, short the highs, and just pay yourself along the way. And it's more simple than you think, as long as you understand the news and you understand the price action. And then you just know that statistically, at the end of the month, that you're going to be right. So, all right, guys, just my thoughts about LIZI for today. So we'll see you around tomorrow.